I'm ranking every fairy type move in Pokemon, wrapping up the Steel, Dragon, Fairy trio you voted for. Fairy is no doubt one of the strongest types in the game and newest introduced in the series. We're ranking their 25 moves on how good they would be competitively on the average mod. Distribution won't be factored, Z moves and max moves won't be included, along with Magical Torque, Sparky Swirl, and the unreleased Light of Rune. Let's get started, buds. The bottom of this list has been the hardest to rank yet. A lot of borderline unusable moves. Last place finish for spot 25 goes to Fairy Wind. This is a 40 base power special attack with 100% accuracy. It is essentially the starter move with the fairy typing, so it's expected to be weak and underwhelming. Lack of any secondary effect hurts its overall usefulness, and it was even slightly nerfed this gen, being labeled as a wind move, granting it 0 buffs and giving it an immunity now. Dodging the last place position in spot 24 is the move Disarming Voice. It is a slightly upgraded version of Fairy Wind. With 40 base power, this move bypasses accuracy and evasion checks to always hit. It is one of few spread attacks on this list, giving it advantages in doubles as well. One more niche of this move is it being sound based, so it hits through subs and can interact with some abilities. But at the end of the day, it is a very low base power attack with limited competitive viability. In spot 23 is our first status move in Aromatic Mist. This is a doubles exclusive move that raises an ally's special defense by 1 stage. It isn't a very good move at all due to its lackluster effect. It is alright support to help a Pokemon weaker on that side or without boosting options, but the competitive potential of this move is definitely lower than most, and you would almost always have a better support option to use over giving an ally +1 to special D. In spot 22 is our first kissing move in Sweet Kiss. This status move comes in at an unreliable 75% accuracy, but has a decent effect of confusing your opponent. You can look at it as a much worse Confuse Ray if you're a pessimist, or a much better Supersonic if an optimist. Either way you slice it, this move has the potential to be useless or save you with hacks. Or maybe at least force a switch. I wouldn't put it on my set though. In spot 21 is a potentially stronger status move in Flower Shield. Flower Shield will boost the defense of all active grass types by 1 stage. It's weird putting this move above other moves with its current distribution, but in a vacuum scenario, this wouldn't be bad at all. It is obviously more of a doubles move, since in singles, it is essentially a type restricted Harden that can also boost an opposing grass type. But giving +1 defense to potentially 2 mons is at least something to consider competitively. You have to watch out for opposing grass types though, since they would also benefit from this move. Into the top 20, we have the move Misty Terrain. This move will set up a terrain that affects the entire field and lasts for 5 turns. This protects all grounded Pokemon from status conditions while also halving the power of Dragon type moves. It interacts with some items and abilities as well, giving it good team support and synergy options. In competitive, it really isn't worth using this move, as we really only see Misty Terrain when a Pokemon summons it upon entry with the Misty Surge ability, and it's not super OP or useful compared to the effects of the other terrains. Up to spot 19, we get to Baby Doll Eyes. This move lowers the target's attack by 1 stage and is the only fairy move with increased priority. The +1 priority is really the only reason it's higher than some of these other on the fence moves. It's decent utility you could throw on as a 4th move on a slower mon just to get some last ditch value when you know you're going to be outsped and KO'd. In spot 18 is the move Fairy Lock. This signature move of Klefki traps all Pokemon, preventing them from escaping during the next turn. It is essentially a budget shadow tag for the whole field. While it may not seem very useful at first glance, I could definitely see a good amount of use for it in doubles, to swap in a threat to set up on passive mons, or force a KO by preventing your opponent from swapping into their answers. Pretty limited applications, but definitely would have some competitive potential, especially on faster mons and other prankster users. At spot 17, we're blowing up with Misty Explosion. This move is a 100 base power special attack that KOs a user after use. I've seen a fair amount of smack talk about it on this channel and elsewhere. While it's not a great move, it does have practical competitive uses. Lead Slurpuff commonly used it to set up webs and get some chip, while giving a teammate a free switch in and avoids becoming setup fodder itself. It is just a much weaker self-destruct, but doesn't have a type immune to it, making the damage payoff lower, but more reliable in guaranteeing damage. It is also boosted in the aforementioned Misty terrain if you want to give it a little extra kick. Emphasis on little. Number 16 is an underrated move in Crafty Shield. This move's low distribution limits its competitive impact. Crafty Shield protects a party from all status moves for the turn. Essentially a protect for just status moves, but frees up a teammate to use a move. This can be used to block Spore, Taunt, Encore, Will-O-Wisp, Thunderwave, and any other annoying moves you want to avoid, and it can also be spammed multiple times without having that fail chance. A lot of support Pokemon would love access to this move's unique properties and let their heavy hitters be unimpeded by pesky status effects. Now we get the upgrade from number 19 in spot 15 with Charm. Charm is actually a really solid move, lowering the target's attack by 2 stages. This effectively halves the damage output after one charm and can easily force switches. You become bulkier and can set up or stall for recovery depending on the user. Overall, a very solid move that is viable competitively and seen on support mons from time to time. Spot 14 goes to the Tapu's signature move, Nature's Madness. This Hyper Fang clone has 90% accuracy and halves the target's current HP. It is nice on a type that has no immunities to be able to take your opponent down to 50% from full, ignoring any stat changes or natural bulk. It would no doubt be better on supportive mons who don't have great offensive stats to cut a big chunk of HP at once. It isn't a crazy good move, but it is one you would definitely see here and there in competitive situations. In spot 13, we have the premier physical option for most fairies in Play Rough. I say this begrudgingly since it is a 90 base power, 90% accurate attack with a measly 10% chance to drop the opponent's attack as a secondary effect. The move itself is alright. It is strong enough to get the job done on a lot of fairies that like the booster attack, but having that 10% miss chance and an unimpressive secondary effect really limits its high ranking on this list. Underwhelming move for the strongest physical fairy type attack, especially when most types have 100 base power, 100% accurate physical moves, or 120 base power attacks with drawbacks. Spot 12 sees a new move in Alluring Voice. This is an 80 base power special attack with 100% accuracy. It isn't crazy power wise, but hits the sweet spot of being serviceable coverage and decent stab. It has some nice characteristics that bring it up this high. It's a sound-based move, allowing it to hit through substitutes, while also having the side effect of guaranteeing confusion on targets who have boosted their stats in the same turn. It is at least a niche stat boosting deterrent in Punisher, while being a reliable semi-strong attack. These attributes put it right outside the top 10. In spot 11, just missing the luxurious top 10, is the other physical fairy type attack in Spirit Break. Yeah, there's only 2 physical fairy type moves. This low distributed move has 75 base power and sports 100% accuracy. Spirit Break comes in with a bit lower base power than Play Rough, but its 100% accuracy combined with great 100% chance to drop the target's special attack by 1 stage gives it a slight edge. You don't have to worry about missing this move in crucial moments, and you get bulkier on the special side just by using it. It provides damage and utility at once, which is major props for its ranking. It sits here as a top physical fairy move, which is still kind of sad that they don't have better options than this. Into the top 10, and I have to say, compared to a lot of other types, I feel like fairy moves are a little underwhelming for the most part. Great typing, but not a ton of great options. Let's see if the top 10 can change the overall perception. Starting the top 10, I have Springtide Storm. This enamorous signature move comes in at 100 base power and 80% accuracy. It comes with a nice 30% chance to lower the target's attack by 1 stage. It isn't the greatest option in singles with that shaky accuracy, but in doubles formats, it hits both opponents, which is a large benefit. You have a decent shot of lowering at least one of their attacks, and it prevents the guessing games with Protect in certain scenarios. 100 base power is also the highest for all fairy type moves that don't also lower your attacking stats, which helps overlook the accuracy and low PP drawbacks. I still wonder why this is the only signature Genie Storm move that doesn't gain perfect accuracy in the rain and has less PP than the rest. Game Freak, apparently not large Enamorous fans.
Loser!
Inside the top 10 and spot 9, we have Moonlight. Moonlight is a self-healing move that recovers up to 50% of the user's max HP. It is a pretty standard healing move, giving the user some reliable recovery, but it also is one of the free weather-dependent healing moves. It will heal the user by 50% with no weather, 66% in sun, and only 25% if other weather is active. Obviously, you don't want to pack this on weather teams outside of sun, so the downsides don't really show unless up against another weather team. It is definitely seen more in singles, where its usage can sort of be grouped with the identical Synthesis and Morning Sun to see how many mods get good use out of its effect. Another healing move arrives in spot 8 with Floral Healing. This is a signature move of Comfy and is doubles exclusive. It heals the target by half of their max HP, making it almost identical to Heal Pulse. This is an amazing support option, particularly good on Comfy since it gains priority with Triage, being a big part of this mod seeing some doubles usage. It also heals more if grassy terrain is active, which would make it preferable to Heal Pulse in most situations, since that can only be boosted by Mega Launcher users, while any mon who used Floral Healing could get the boost if paired with Rillaboom or Tapu Bulu. It was pretty much tied with Moonlight, but I think its impact in doubles would be a lot higher than Moonlight's impact in singles, as it can't be nerfed from field effects and is a slightly upgraded Heal Pulse in my opinion, where Moonlight is a slightly riskier version of Recover. In spot 7, we are back to special attacks with Strange Steam. Galarian Weezing's signature move shows up with a great 90 base power and 95% accuracy. It is an overall excellent stab attack with those attributes, but on top of it, gives a 20% chance to confuse a target. Confusion procs can be really clutch, giving you 3 turns in damage or forcing a swap. If you don't get the confusion, you are still pounding your opponent with a really strong attack on par power-wise with moves like Thunderbolt, Flamethrower, and Ice Beam, but with a slight mischance that will still make you a tiny bit uneasy to click it in a crucial moment. Spot 6 is maybe my hot take for the video, but I think a lot of people will agree with me from their own experience. It goes to Draining Kiss. This move has a measly 50 base power, barely stronger than the bottom 2 attacks on the list, but the great effect of healing the user by up to 75% of the damage given. Draining Kiss is preferred over other stronger fairy moves on a lot of setup mods because of the immense amount of healing. There's plenty of mods who use it in combination with Calm Mind to become nearly unkillable. You can afford to take a hit or two while setting up because you're going to get all that HP back anyways. This gives you moveset compression, not needing to also carry a recovery option. With Stab, this move isn't that weak, but it definitely takes a little bit of setup before it becomes a huge threat. But oh man, it can just completely destroy a team and threaten a slow, painful sweep. The top 5 fairy moves are definitely filled with good ones, but I'm just reminding you, these are more so ranked in a vacuum. So if you're confused with some of the rankings, understand I'm not strictly considering the mods that can learn the move when ranking. That being said, number 5 is nothing crazy. Here we have Dazzling Gleam. Perhaps the most widely distributed fairy attack, it comes in at 80 base power and 100% accuracy, making it a reliable special move. What puts this above comparable moves like Alluring Voice and Strange Steam is the spread damage advantage it has. It becomes a premier doubles option thanks to this as the strongest fairy type spread move that doesn't have bad accuracy. 80 base power isn't extremely strong, but it is also powerful enough to do good damage and is a serviceable stab option in singles when the mon doesn't have access to another move coming soon. Up in spot 4 is the very powerful Fleur Cannon. This is the signature move of Magearna, coming in at 130 base power and 90% accuracy. Fleur Cannon is by far the strongest fairy type move in the game that's been properly released. But this does come with the downside of lowering the user's special attack by 2 stages. It is essentially a clone of moves like Leaf Storm, Draco Meteor, and Overheat, which are also great moves seen quite commonly. It is particularly good on Magearna, who can usually grab a KO with it, which offsets some of the downsides of lowering its special attack by getting a Soul Heart boost right after. This is a nuke with no immunities, and even at -2 special attack, you can still hit relatively hard the second time before having to swap out and reset your stats. In spot 3, we have the premier fairy type attack in Moonblast. Moonblast is a crazy attack for just being a regular move with decent distribution. 95 base power, 100% accuracy, and a busted 30% chance to lower the target's special attack by 1 stage. It is such a spammable move, doing great damage, and can be the only attacking move you need on your set. Even without the secondary effect, it would be one of the premier singles options, but that 30% chance comes into play so often, and in those common battles, or when stalling out your opponent, when you have Moonblast on your side, you have such a big advantage. The special attack drop just loves to proc about every other time it feels. This is my GOAT for fairy type attacks, but we do have a couple moves I think are all around better. In spot number 2, in the runner-up, I had the support move, Decorate. This move will increase the target's attack and special attack by 2 stages each. Decorate is luckily limited to Alcremie, who isn't very viable in doubles. If it was accessible to decent support mons, or Arceus forbid a prankster mon, it would be one of the scariest moves in the game to face. This is essentially a swords dance or a nasty plot you can give to a teammate. You think Helping Hand is good? Decorate supplies way more of a punch that lasts after the turn it's used. It would make mix attackers extremely scary, as mons like Iron Valiant, Dragapult, Regieleki, pretty much any fast mon with decent attacking stats, they'd be impossible to wall, as they can just keep spamming powerful attacks, targeting the opponent's lower defense stat, while their teammate continues to make them stronger. A bust-in move that we are lucky to not have to deal with on competitively viable mons. And here we are, spot number 1, the top fairy move in the game. By the way, if you want to vote on the next type I cover, join the Budzone Discord, where I hold polls that will last a week after the video is posted. The honor of the top fairy move goes to one of the best setup moves in the game, Geomancy. This move is exclusive to Xerneas and raises the user's special attack, special defense, and speed by 2 stages each. It takes 1 turn to charge, and the aforementioned effect takes place the following turn. Of course, this move by itself is a questionable choice to put in the top spot, but thanks to the existence of the item Power Herb, this is a really busted move as seen by the dominance of Xerneas in singles and doubles, where it is very rare to see it leave home without its trusty Geomancy. Power Herb lets this move execute in a single turn and consumes the item, but this is all you need to start your sweep. You essentially are getting 2 Quiver Dances in 1 turn, which can make virtually any special attacker immediately terrifying. We see how Quiver Dance makes the weak butterfly Pokemon dangerous, and this is a crazier version of that. I think it is pretty close between this and Decorate, as Geomancy is more of a one-use move that can let you immediately sweep, while Decorate can be a consistent support option used at any point of the game. But I think Geomancy being amazing in singles and doubles potentially on so many mons gives it the edge. But what do you think? Are some moves higher than they should be? Or did I snub one of your favorite moves in the rankings? Let me know. If you liked this video, check out the other rankings I did of Steel and Dragon so far. Special shout out to my Patreon and YouTube supporters, including Goldbud, Mr. Frank Beans, and Bucket Boys for their generous gifted members. If you want to support me, check out my links in the description. Thanks for watching, buds, and I'll see you soon.